If you do not know what human design is yet, stay tuned. It's going to be fun. Here with Anna Gustafson, who is... Anna, you're in New York, yeah? Am I right? My memory?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees today.
Wow. You guys are...
Yeah, it was like 93 yesterday, and then it's going to rain, and it'll be back in the 60s by the weekend. Weather has been wild this month. We had snow 2 weeks ago.
Jeez. You guys are... all
snow.
You have all of your all-season outfits are still out. Nothing is packed.
Yeah.
We just have I joke. We just have one season here in Miami. It's just a warm season. That's all. Actually, that's not true. We have hurricane season now. It's been some crazy storms here the last couple of days. I've been inside.
Yeah. I think we get the aftershock of all of that. So all the hot weather we're getting right now, I think usually it comes from the south, and then we get rain, and then it just cools off, and Canada weather kind of pushes down. So we're in this push and pull between southern weather and northern weather during the spring and fall usually.
For sure. Well, this will be fun. I want to introduce you guys, or reintroduce you guys to Anna, and we've done let me record this. Pause, record. I've made that mistake only once, where I did a whole conversation that was none of this is recorded. But I was streaming it, so I got to at least have a lower quality version on the stream. Well, hello everybody. Excited to have this awesome conversation. Do a little workshop with Anna, and me and Anna have collaborated before on an Enlightened Conversations podcast, and that was a really fun conversation. We talked about all sorts of things, and today we're going to focus in on human design, which Anna actually introduced to me when we spoke on our podcast. I think that was back in December of last year. And before that, I had never heard the words. Did a little Wikipedia search, saw that this became really popularized in 1992, it looked like. And I'm going to let Anna describe what it is and all that stuff. I'm not the expert, but she's going to go over my human design chart today, and then share with you guys some other stuff about that. And if anybody wants to join us live, if you happen to be watching this on the live stream, there's a link there that you can register, and then it'll give you access to the Zoom that we're on right now, and you can ask questions. And there's actually, I'm going to give you guys another... I'm not going to do all that. Too late if you guys didn't already get your chart. I tried to post for you guys on the stories. I saw Anna, you post and say, get your chart here. So if you guys are seeing this on those, or you see that, join us with the chart. If not, you get your chart later. But hi, Anna. Excited to do this with you, and I'm going to put the ball in your court because I'm curious to hear what you're going to share with us.
Okay, well, first, I just want to preface everything by saying I am not a human design expert yet. I just got introduced to it about 9 or 10 months ago myself, and it's one of those things that lit a spark in me, and I immediately had to know more, had to know more, and even that aspect of myself is in my chart. I can show you in my chart where that drive to want to know as much information as possible and the hunger for it, I can show you where that is in my chart. So, but we're going to talk about your chart. But so I'm still learning and integrating. So I want to just note that we could literally sit here and talk about human design for hours, but I'm going to keep it limited to pretty much the basics and kind of the place to start. So this is a human design introduction. This is where you start if you want to begin to integrate the ideas and the principles that are in this system. So I just wanted to preface that there are definitely people out there who have been studying this for much longer than I, and people that offer readings professionally and things like that, I'm beginning to do that. I offer readings right now, to friends and family for free, and that helps me learn more about the system and stuff like that. But like I said, we can talk about my chart all day. My design is to be passionate about many things. So human design is one of many things that I've become passionate about. But I'm learning how to train myself to like focus on like one thing at a time, and then come back and blend them all together. So right now I'm actually taking a Soul Tarot course with the lovely Miss Lindsay Mack, Ms. Lindsay Mack, of the Tarot for the Wild Soul, and her program, and it's amazing, and it's all about decolonizing, rewilding the tarot, taking it out of this realm of like capitalistic, patriarchal interpretation and use, and bringing it back home to like a soul-centered way of reading, where it's like instead of looking for external validation or external things that are going to happen, instead it's all about the inner work that we need to do, and that inner work which then translates to what happens outside of us, right? Like it's very, very closely related to a lot of the new paradigm stuff that's going on in the spiritual realms, where we're trying to take people out of victimization mode, out of externalizing everything, and bringing them back into, taking responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, and your energy. And that's where human design kind of comes in for me, is that it really explains for me how my energy is meant to work, how I'm meant to work with other people, and how to interact with the universe. And it ties in beautifully with the tarot, the soul tarot work, because as I'm learning these cards and these energies, I'm like, oh, this card is representative of how I need to let go and surrender to allowing experiences to happen to me, to come to me, and then choose what I do to them, rather than trying to go out and make things happen. That's making things happen is not aligned with my energy or yours, but it is if you're a manifester. So we'll get into that. But anyways, I just wanted to preface that.
Let me side note with what something Anna just said. It's so important. As human beings, when we find ourselves drawn to any area of life, in this example, Anna being drawn to human design, that's a really great energetic nudge for us to follow. And what that ends up doing for us, it leads us to a potential, well, it could just be a life experience where you might say, oh, that's interesting, and you might choose to go a different direction from there. Or it might turn into a real place of interest and maybe even a passion where you further go down the path. And then what you're able to do is you put yourself, because Anna, you're already here, just the fact that you've been aware of human design and taking a look at it and learning more for the last 10 months, 9-10 months, just that puts you in, like, you know more about human design than 99% of the rest of the population. And for you guys out there, if you think about, we all have areas of our life that we have more life experience in that area because we're drawn to it than most of the rest of the population. And so how does this like add to the collective? If we think back how we used to live when we were in tribes way back in the day, if you were someone that you took a liking to catching fish, that was what you were going to be doing for the tribe, because, or you had to like teach other people how to do it, but we need you to get food for us. Or if you were good at making the fire or watching the kids or whatever it is, like there's always, so that's what makes it fun sharing a planet with 7.7 billion humans, because we're all drawn to different things. And then if we choose to share it like Anna is doing, then we can add to the collective, and you can make an impact on anybody that's drawn into your path. So just side note for that, Anna.
Yeah, human design upholds the highest vibration of that. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with just like a little bit of background of where human design came from. So some people refer to human design as like the new astrology. Other people, the guy who channeled it, his name was, I always forget his real name, but his spiritual name is Ra Uru Hu. He was born, Ryan, or, shoot, I'm sorry. I was prepared and then I forgot his name.
You guys can do a Google search and go to the Wikipedia page. I linked that on. I sent out a bunch of emails to promote this week, telling people I was doing this, and I just linked it right to the Wikipedia page. Like, go learn about it.
He was given the name Robert Allen Krakauer, and in 1987, he he basically like was like an intellectual and a musician and all these things, and then he just like decided to just like drop his life and go and disappear, and he just like disappeared for a number of years. And when he was found himself in Ibiza, Spain, and he was having this like intense spiritual journey and time, and he wound up um, channeling this voice and channeled for 8 days. He wrote all the human design information. He channeled all this stuff down in 1987, and just it became this thing. So what it ultimately is it's a blending of traditional astrology with the Kabbalah, namely the Tree of Life design, which we'll see in the chart. If you look at the chart here, you see the shape that the energy centers are in is very similar to the Tree of Life from the Kabbalah.
That's my chart, by the way, everyone.
It's the astrology, the Kabbalah Tree of Life, the I Ching, which is the ancient Chinese system of divination. And in the I Ching, they utilize a system of what are called hexagrams, which are lines, and different combinations of broken and unbroken lines. It's a very, very old form of divination. And in that system, there are 64 different types of hexagrams. And that is, in human design, we get these numbered gates that each planet is in on the day you're born. And those numbers go from numbers 1 through 64. And each of those gates basically represents like different personality traits and characteristics and skills and gifts, basically. So the I Ching is the third one. And the fourth one is the kind of the chakra system that was channeled down 5,000 years ago by the rishis in India. And that became kind of the basis for like yoga and Hinduism and a lot of that like energy that we talk about when we talk about chakras and things like that. That was all channeled down 5,000 years ago. And it's been adapted when Ra channeled this system. There were actually, it was given to him that there's actually, we now have 2 additional chakras. We now actually have 9 because we've evolved since, you know, the rishis channeled those chakras, the chakra system down 5,000 years ago. And it was also revealed to him when he had this channeling experience that we as humans, we've evolved several times to add more chakras. So back when we were Neanderthals, when you mentioned like living in tribes, this brought me back to that, is when we were Neanderthals, still living kind of in caves in a very survival manner, right? Like you could get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger at any moment, you know, things like that. And like, you know, you could die of hunger, die of thirst, very, very immediately. It was very much like we were living in this survival place. We only had 5 energy centers at that time. And then as we evolved into Cro-Magnon man and started to develop more sedentary, like stationary lives, or even still nomadic, but we would farm, you know, getting into some agriculture, some animal husbandry and things like that, we weren't as on alert all the time. You know, we weren't living in that state of like, you know, fight or flight all the time. So we were able to actually develop 2 additional energy centers as we moved from living in that survival center in the root. We started to live more in our brains, essentially. So then we developed 2 more chakras, and that was what the rishis channeled 5,000 years ago. Well, when Ra channeled this, he was told that around the mid-1700s, we actually, you know, kind of around like as we were starting to become more technologically capable and we were developing things and the Industrial Revolution was beginning to happen, we then entered another evolution. it was actually, I think it was 1781 was when the planet Uranus was discovered. And we shifted. Before that, we only knew Saturn as being like the furthest away planet from us. But then we discovered Jupiter and Uranus, and it was like our timelines kind of shifted. Uranus was our generational planet for a long time, the 74-year cycle. So like up till that point, the oldest people were only living to 74, an average age. Now we're like shifting into a more Plutonian shift, or a Neptunian shift, I'm sorry, which is a longer lifespan. So like as we evolve with technology and information and using different parts of ourselves to learn about the world and interact with each other, we start developing new energy centers. So that's a lot. Take it in. That's it. Okay. So the system uses 9 sensors. I'm gonna rock my whiteboard here, and I'm gonna draw out real quick, just so it's a little bit easier to see than the paper, what these sensors are kind of.
See, Anna has art skills with the surroundings that she has there. I struggle to draw a straight line, Anna, so don't ask me to draw drawings on whiteboards anytime soon, everyone out there.
Okay, so this is like your basic chart layout. So if you're familiar with the chakra system, doing this mirrored thing is tricky. Okay, if you're familiar with the chakra system, you know that you have the crown and the third eye, and then the heart chakra is actually over here, and we actually call it, in human design, it's called the ego chakra, or also the will center. We'll talk about that. This one in the middle here that normally would be the heart is actually called the G center. And that is kind of like where the soul sits. That's kind of like where we understand our own self-love as well as universal love. This chakra here is energy center, is the sacral. The one down here is the root. Over here, this one is the splenic center, so that's another new center. And then this one over here is the solar plexus. So the 7 original ones are all there, but we also have the G center and the splenic center, which are kind of new. So just to show you guys kind of the layout there. So what I want to go into next is the 5 types. According to Ra, there's 4 types, but being that I'm this 5th one that kind of gets lumped together in another category, so I'm partial to say that there's 5 types. So the first type we'll talk about your type last, and then we'll go from there to go into your chart. So I want to talk about reflectors first. Reflectors make up about 1% of the population. They are here designed to be the kind of discerners, and I like to call them like indicators of the health of a community. So ideally, every community or group of people or a company or any sort of thing like that would have at least one reflector around, and their health, both emotional health, physical health, financial health, all these different indicators, their health would tell you how healthy their community is. So if they're not doing well, it's kind of a signpost like, hey, we should look at maybe what's not working in our system and then get it healthy, and then the reflector's health will change. It's really, really interesting. They're very, very rare. Like I said, only 1% of the population. They are completely open. They have completely, all their centers are what we call undefined. And we'll go into that more later. There's defined and undefined. So if you're looking at your chart, if you look at all those centers, anything that is not colored in, that is white, is called undefined. Anything that you have that is colored in is defined. And like I said, we'll go into that a little bit more in a little bit. Next, the next rarest type.
You have awesome handwriting, by the way, Anna.
Thank you. The next types are called manifestors. They make up about 9% of the population. They can have usually any number of centers open or defined at any time, but the key thing with them is that they have a defined throat center, and it is connected to one of the motors, which the motors are the sacral, the heart or the will center, and the solar plexus. So if you look in your chart, if you have a colored in channel or line that goes from the throat to any of those three centers, then you may be a manifestor or a manifesting generator. We'll get to that in a second. The next type are called projectors. And it's not quite like the way that word is used colloquially, like we say it like it's a negative thing, like you're projecting. That's not really what we mean when we say projector. It has to do with how the aura works, or how the aura like feels around. So a manifestor's aura kind of like shoots out and just like does and just goes. Projector's aura is more like tentacles, like it kind of feels into the aura of others. So projectors, they have any number of chakra energy centers defined or undefined, but their key thing is, unlike a manifestor, they do not have a connection from the throat to one of the motors. So they do not have a defined sacral center. So all three of these have an undefined sacral center, and that's what really sets these three apart from the other two types, which we're going to talk about next. So if you take the characteristics of a manifestor, having the throat connected to one of the motors, and they have a defined sacral center, that's how you get what we call a manifesting generator. Manifesting generator. Manifesting generators make up about 33% of the population. And I'm a manifesting generator. So manifesting generator energy, similar to a generator, pure generator, which is you, our auras just kind of like, they just radiate out around us. And it's like we have this kind of like magnetic thing going on where people are kind of drawn to us because we have this powerful aura that it just radiates around us all the time consistently. Whereas, excuse me, like I said, the manifestor and the projector, their auras kind of like reach out in different ways. Ours just kind of is just like this big kind of bubble around us. And so yeah, 33% of the population. So then that leaves generators, which make up about 37% of the population. So a generator, again, can have any number of the centers defined or undefined, but all generators have the sacral center defined, colored in on your chart, but they do not have a connection from the throat to another motor. So that's the main thing that separates a generator from a manifesting generator, is that throat connection to either the sacral, the heart, or the solar plexus. So does that all make sense? Do you have
Yeah.
any questions?
No, I'm super curious. Super curious to hear what you're now that you've got to. I think for all of us, that's why you guys out there, we'll make sure you have links so you can get your chart because now you're going to wonder what am I out there because most of you probably don't know. So we'll make sure that you can check on that. But I am this last one, so now Anna is speaking into my listening. But that I like all the explanations.
So with this knowledge, here's what we take with just that knowledge alone. Here's some things we can talk about. So if you combine generators and manifesting generators into one kind of category, because we have that defined sacral. And the sacral is a motor, like I said, it generates energy. It is the main source of energy compared to all the other centers. So we wake up in the morning and we're ready to go. We've got all the energy in the world and we can go all day long, eat a few snacks, maybe rest for a minute, but really we can consistently just keep creating, keep focusing our energy. Physically, we can use our energy all the time and it never goes away. Whereas the other three types, they kind of wake up in the morning with this much energy. And then as they focus on something or physically exert themselves, that energy storage just kind of slowly depletes. And then sometimes if let's say a projector comes into the aura of a generator, that they'll actually get a little bit of a burst of energy from that generator's sacral because you're putting out energy through that sacral center and they're going to take it in through their open center. They might get a little burst, but it's not sustainable and they'll continue to like deplete their energy. And then once it's gone, they gotta rest. They whether that's like an hour nap or going down for the night, they wake up again the next day, they're right back up to they got this much energy again. So that's the main kind of like again energetically where generator types are different from non-generator types. So we're just cranking out energy all the time. And none of it's meant to be like good or bad. There's light and dark to all of it. It's just up to you and how you decide to perceive it. So having the awareness and bringing the awareness to this is empowering us to be able to say, okay, so I generate this energy all the time. Now I can understand that my boyfriend, who is a projector, he does not generate that energy all the time. So instead of me getting frustrated with him at the end of the night when like he literally like can't help me with one more thing, instead of getting frustrated and angry at him and calling him lazy or anything like that, I'd be like, okay, his energy is gone. I have to honor that and, put my stuff aside and say, okay, well, I'll deal with that another time, or I'll just do it myself, whatever. So like things like that. It's about bringing awareness so that we can stop trying to like condition people around us to be just like us and understanding that everyone's experience really is unique to them. And the human design system literally just maps it out and shows you in a visual how you are different from everyone else. Okay, so I just want to talk a couple other things. So each of the energy types has their own strategy, and the strategy is like how you move through life according to what is in alignment for your energy and how it works, and kind of the push and play with the universe and the energies of the universe. And they also, each type has what's called a self theme and a not self theme. The self theme, if you are feeling your self theme, that means you are in alignment with your energy. If you are experiencing your not self theme, that means you're out of alignment. And it's an excellent signpost to say, okay, like bring your awareness back, say, okay, I am in my not self theme. I gotta stop and say, where am I not living according to my strategy for my type? Where am I not living according to my authority? And your authority is how you make a decision. So strategies like the universe and you, bringing things in and out, and then the authority is how you're meant to choose yes or no to what is brought in and out of your realm. So for reflectors, the not self theme is disappointment, and the self theme is delight and surprise. So just as an example there. If you're a manifester, your not self theme is anger, but your self theme is peace. So when you're living according to your strategy and authority, you feel those things. You feel the light side. For projectors, the not self theme is bitterness, but the self theme is recognition, feeling recognized, and success ultimately. And then for generators and manifesting generators, we have the same self and not self themes, which is frustration is the not self theme. And then when we are in alignment, we feel satisfied. And I tune into this all the time. Like when I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I'm just like looking back at all the things I've accomplished and done. You know, like it really is. It's that feeling of satisfaction is one of the most wonderful things in the world for everyone, but especially for generators. We just feel like we've done our job. Like it's great.
I've been experiencing this a lot.
So yeah, again, like so for you as a generator and me as a manifesting generator, like I experience frustration all the time, or I used to experience it all the time. I still experience it from time to time, but now when I do, it's like that. It sets off a little trigger within me that says, "Wait a second. You're feeling so frustrated. Are you living to the strategy? Are you responding to what the universe is giving you, or are you trying to go out and make things happen?" Usually when you're trying to make things happen, that's when you're met with resistance, things don't work well, nobody shows up for something or whatever, and all these different things might happen. So just to go over the strategies for each type, I'll go back to reflectors. The strategy for reflectors is in today's world is probably one of the hardest strategies to have because we're very, instant gratification and we're very fast-moving society. For reflectors, they have to wait an entire lunar cycle for things to come to them and to make decisions about things. Like their authority and strategy is kind of the same. So a lunar cycle, in case you don't know, is 28 days. So say they want to buy a house, say a reflector wants to buy a house, they literally have to first spend 28 days thinking about and talking with their friends and family about just the idea of buying a house, what the process is, and where to start looking. And then after 28 days, they take all that knowledge and information and then put it together and say, okay, is this really the right time for me to buy a house, or should I wait? And they have to wait for clarity. And if they don't get clarity, then they got to wait another lunar cycle. So it can be really tough to have that that sort of strategy and authority when we live in this world where, you could buy a house and move in 28 days, So it's some places. So it can be a tough strategy, but it's the sort of thing where if you follow, no matter who you are, if you follow your strategy, then the magnetic pull of whatever it is whatever is being brought to you for you to choose, if you follow your strategy and authority, then if it's really meant for you, it will come back stronger. It will be pulled back to you. Like people always feel like they're going to miss the boat, but if the boat's really meant for you, it'll wait. And if it's not, well, there's another boat coming. So it's not a big deal. So that's reflectors. Manifestors, their strategy is to inform because their energy can be very unpredictable to all us generators. Manifestors have this energy where they initiate. They come up with an idea and they do it. Whoever in the Nike Corporation, whoever came up with the phrase "just do it," probably a manifestor because
That is the slogan for manifestors. Just go do it, and that's correct for them. But when you do that, and you don't tell anybody what you're doing, especially like I said, us generators, there's so many of us too. There's like 70% of the population is generators. Those couple of manifestors that may be in our lives, they're so unpredictable because they don't tell us what they're doing. So their strategy is to just inform. Just tell the people around you that care about you, that love you, to just tell them what you're doing. You're not asking for their opinion. You're not asking for permission. You're going to go do whatever it is anyways, whether they tell you anything of, from their viewpoint or not. But it's just a matter of letting the people around you feel like they're included and feel like they're a part of your energy, which is just this driving energy. And, on the flip side, they're the only type that has initiating energy for themselves. Like generators and projectors, it's not in alignment for us to just make stuff happen for ourselves. Anyone can initiate anyone else. So like you coming to me and saying, hey, you want to do this workshop? I literally have been thinking about doing a workshop just like this in this format for about 2 months. And I've just been waiting. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And like you have come into my thoughts a couple times in the last couple of weeks, and I've just been, just thinking about it, about maybe reaching out to you, but I'm also like, no, I'm gonna just wait, see if the universe brings me something to respond to. And then sure enough, he said, hey, you want to do this workshop, blah, blah, blah. And so that's where my strategy comes in, and I'm like, yeah. But so anybody can initiate anybody, but only manifestors can initiate themselves and say, I have an idea, I'm going to go do it. And they can, and it works out. But then for a manifestor, they're not meant to follow through. So then they have to get over feeling like they have to see everything through to the end, which is a big source of conditioning for a lot of us. A lot of us grew up being told you have to pick one thing and stick with it, which that's not correct for a manifestor. They'll get frustrated and angry, and that's the not self theme there, when people try to control them and tell them what to do, or if they try to see everything to completion. So they'll get burnt out.
Let me share a synchronicity that you just popped into my mind, because I didn't realize what you just said as far as you had been considering doing a workshop like this for a couple of months. And here's how cool the universe is. And this just for all you guys, I love sharing synchronicities, because the time where I reached out to Anna and said, hey, let's do a workshop was literally the night of, actually I messaged her at 3 a.m. Because the universe had popped a awareness of the podcast that she shared with me about human design when we did our podcast together way back in December. So we're talking about 6+ months ago now, and I hadn't that was the first introduction to me. So Anna shared with me as far as like I was ready for at that time, and it was interesting. It was the first time I had heard of it, and then was experiencing some frustration because I noticed myself making decisions, trying to make things happen as far as goals that I've had, versus things that versus just allowing things to unfold, and she'll get into more of that when it comes to my type generators. But I noticed myself making decisions just based off of what I thought would lead me to the best result, trying to do it Noelle's way. And I was getting frustrated with it, and just the universe popped into my mind, when it came to the stuff that she shared with me. And I don't even know exactly what caused me to remember that the podcast was there, any of that stuff, but that's what was perfect for me. And it gave me so much peace after a day of like confusion. And for me, I feel the worst energy personally when I'm confused about something. That's what leads to frustration for me. So it's just really cool synchronistically how that led. So the universe is like fulfilling something that helped me and bringing in the asking that you had at the same time. So awesome synchronicity there.
So I'll come back to this too, but what you just voiced about these like long-term goals, right? You said long-term goals, right?
Well, my basically toward the things that I was doing towards my big vision, which basically long-term goal. Yeah.
Your sun gate, your main gate in your chart, which is gate number 48, that one It literally says in the raw book, it says the shadow side of this energy is having a taste for long-term projects, which causes a lot of frustration. The light side of that cake is the awareness that depth is possible. So depth meaning like depth, like a lot of meaning, right? It's possible, and its expression will face restrictions. So like that to go as deep as you want to go, you're gonna hit roadblocks. So instead of trying to envision one long-term project, your energy is better off doing a bunch of small short-term ones. And that's how you will gain satisfaction, is by having short little goals. Because you also have to like let go of the idea that like life is gonna be how you picture it, because that's like, it's tricky because you want to set a goal, you want to aim for something, but you also have to release it when the universe brings you other things that maybe didn't fit into that long-term plan you had made up in your head of how things are going to go and where you want to be, because the universe is going to say, well, I'm going to bring you these things now, and you respond to them. And if you respond in alignment, what's best for you, for all these little short things, all the short little projects will lead you to that longer term goal. But you have to release what you think that's going to be like, or how you think it's going to happen, or who you think is going to be involved, because that's ultimately what generators need to do. So let me go back to, I'm going to go back to my notes here. We'll tap back into that, but just you voicing that just show me that, like, yeah, you were living in the shadow side of that energy a little bit and getting frustration trying to make that long-term thing happen, trying to like really lay down that track too far in advance, where really you should be really focusing on the little things that are right in front of you.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so going back to the different types, so projectors, their strategy is to wait for the invitation. So if you're a projector, again, you're about 20% of the population, your aura feels into the auras of other people. So projectors have a lot of really beautiful innate wisdom around what other people need. A lot of some of the world's best like therapists are projectors. That's not to say you can't be a therapist if you're not a projector, but it's just this like very, very innate knowing of, what do you need right now? Who should you work with to produce the best? What environment is better for you? Like where you should move to, or things like that. Projectors, and then they need to be asked for their information. If a projector tries to offer their information without being asked, usually it's either ignored or like pushed back against hard by whoever they're offering their insight to. So what wait for the invitation means, it partly means wait to be invited to offer your information or offer your skill. But the underlying part of that is, while you're waiting for life's big invitations, you need to be mastering your skill. So I love using my boyfriend as an example, because he's a projector, and so here's like a classic example. Like, he decided that he plays guitar and has a band and stuff, but he decided he wanted to learn as many Beatles songs as possible. So we went to Barnes and Noble before quarantine happened, and he's got the Beatles book, which is like this thick. It's got like every recorded Beatles song in it, and started learning them. And then we started singing them together, doing like little live streams on Facebook on Saturdays when quarantine happened and stuff like that, and our friends would watch. It was great. Well, after a few weeks of that, all of a sudden he started getting messages from literally like, I think he got like 5 messages in one day from 5 different people saying, "Hey man, can I come play music with you, or do you want to join my band, or can I book a gig? Like, can we book you for our festival for next summer?" And blah blah blah. And like out of nowhere, like nothing for months. And then all of a sudden, you know, he got all these invitations. And just because you get an invitation doesn't mean you have to say yes to it. And this is something he's been kind of experimenting with and questioning is like, if you say no to an invitation, is that signaling to the universe that you don't want any invitations? And that's not correct. From everything that I understand about the way it works is you say no, another one will come. You know, it's not a big deal. Like I said, if you feel like you're missing a boat, don't worry because there's another boat coming. You know, it's not like there's only one boat in all of the universe. So yeah, so if you're a projector, whatever it is that you are passionate about, what excites you, focus on that and just be patient. Now, it doesn't mean you have to wait to be invited for every single little thing in life, but it's mainly about the bigger invitation, like joining a band, something that's going to like really influence your life, or buying a house, or starting a business, or you know, any number of things. You just wait for the invitation to come, and the more you perfect your skill and the longer you wait, the bigger the invitation will be. So patience is a running theme in pretty much all of human design. Everyone just needs to be more patient and trusting of their own energy and that the universe has got their back, that the universe is literally sending a stream of well-being to you at all times. It's up to us to turn on the switch or open ourselves up to receive the stream.
I really like that about all this, Anna. These are all great reminders for all of us, like to where we can be like, that's a really good reminder for me, regardless if it's dominant for us or not. Still great reminders for us to be able to take into account.
And I also want to note, just because if you are, say, a projector, that doesn't mean that you don't ever experience the feelings that come with like generator energy, because the different gates in the chart, some of them are generated gates, some of them are projected gates, and I think there's one manifested gate. But you can be a generator and have projected gates in your chart, which means that energy has to wait to be invited in order to express. It's actually funny, there's a lot of gates in the throat that are projected gates, which is like a big source of frustration for me a lot because I want to share all the time, but unless if I am asked, it usually doesn't get received well. So even though I'm a generator, I still have energies that are projected. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now generators and manifesting generators. We have the same strategy, which is to respond. What that means is literally responding to life, and usually in a vocal way. So whether your throat is defined or undefined in your chart, if you are a generator or a manifesting generator, it doesn't matter if the throat's defined or not, you can still respond to life with your vocal sound, because the voice kind of like gets the sacral energy moving. It kind of like activates your sacral energy center, and it like begins to transmit to the universe like, hey, I'm awake, I'm ready to respond. So an example would be like every morning I wake up and I go down to my kitchen, I start making coffee, and I look out the window and there are birds flying around and chirping. I'm just like, oh, I love birds. Oh, they're so great, they're cute, they sound wonderful. You know, so responding with that kind of sound, or ooh, or ah, that sound is like, okay, I'm responding to something that I like. Likewise, say you go for a walk around your neighborhood and there's a bag of trash on the street and it smells gross, and you go, ugh, gross, right? Now you're responding that you don't like something. And that's all the universe is looking for from us, is just a response. Any response at all. So that it begins to send out like what our preferences are. So like, oh, I like birds. Oh, I hate trash. And then the universe will start to send us more things to respond to, and they'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Manifesting generators, in my personal experience, we have that little bit extra going on with that little bit of manifesting energy in there. I personally experienced a lot of frustration around feeling like I can make things happen, because it works for me 50% of the time. The other 50% it blows up in my face. So like we have a little bit of that manifestor energy, but it's not dominant for us. So it can be a little confusing. Like, can I make something happen? I don't know. Ultimately, you still revert back to the generator strategy. But I've started integrating just a little bit of the manifestor strategy into my daily life, and I love using social media for this. So, like, this is a perfect example. Is like I'm doing this human design podcast. That's basically what a manifestor would do. If I was a manifestor, I would just tell people what I'm doing. I'm doing a human design podcast, or a human design workshop. When you just tell people what you're doing, then they can come to you with things to respond to. So it's like, I don't want to say it's manipulating the energy, but it's like just leveraging it to my advantage, So if nobody's interested, nobody will say anything to me, right? But if it sparks something, if I just tell people what I'm doing, and then someone will come to me and be like, oh, cool, can you read my chart for me? Now I've been initiated to take action. Or, hey, everybody, if anybody wants a soul tarot reading, I'm doing soul tarot readings today for free. And then that's it. I'm not trying to get specific people to do it, and I've released any expectation of doing any, so that whoever is activated by that information, then they come to me and say, yeah, I would love a reading. And now I'm initiated. Now I can move forward. But if I go and say, hey, Noelle, I want to read your chart, you might not receive it. It's a 50-50 shot sometimes. You might be like, yeah, sure. Or if I try to make it happen, in that way, we try to pick a time, and then something happens, my computer doesn't work, something comes up in my schedule, I forget about it, all kinds of things might happen that are maybe even subtler than that would prevent us from doing a reading if I tried to initiate it for myself, because I want to do it so I can learn. I also want to initiate for you, but it's different, so there's a lot of subtleties and a lot of things going on with the energies there, but that's just a way that, personally, as a manifesting generator, I do integrate a little bit of the informed strategy of the manifestor so that I can kind of initiate other people to initiate me. So, you can, as a generator, you can sort of position yourself to receive things. You can put yourself in the right place at the right time, or you can experiment with it. You can say, today, instead of doing my work at my computer in my house, I'm going to go sit outside at this cafe. Because then now the universe is going to meet you with different things than you normally would have encountered had you stayed in your house. And you can experiment with it. You can see. So that's just some of that. Anything that came up or anything you want to add?
Oh, just that I'm excited to be able to go do work at a cafe here soon. I think they might have started opening cafes in Miami today, actually, but they restaurants. I don't know if cafes apply. That's what popped into my mind when you just said that.
Yeah, we're still in our phase 1 up here in New York, and just so everybody knows, I'm in upstate New York in the Syracuse area, and I think we've had less than 1,000 cases here. I think about 1,000 or less, and only any deaths is not great, but I think a very, very small amount of deaths. So we're chomping at the bit ready to go, but because New York City is part of New York State, we got enveloped into this big, long, slow, drawn out reopening plan. But yeah, I don't want to get too much into that, but I am interested to see how everything goes. Okay, so I went over all the energy types, the not self-themes, and strategies. So then there's this third part, or this additional part called authority. I mentioned it earlier, which if you're looking at your chart, it would say authority, and then it would say a word next to it. And there are 7 authorities. I'm only going to really focus on 2 of them today, because I think they are 2 of the more common ones, and it's your authority and mine. So, the 7 authorities are, emotional, sacral, splenic, ego, self, environment, and lunar. So those are the 7 authorities. And again, authority has to do with how you are meant to make decisions according to your energy, how you're supposed to choose what is brought to you by the universe. So Noel, he has what's called sacral authority. And again, that's the only types that are ever going to have sacral authority are the generator type, because it's defined. You will never have a projector, manifestor, or reflector with sacral authority. The other type we're going to talk about is the type that I have, which is emotional authority. That means that you have a defined solar plexus, and it is predominant in your energy. Splenic authority is usually if you have a fully defined spleen. Ego authority is authority through your the will center, the small little triangle off to the side that is your kind of like where your heart is. The self-projected comes from the G center, which is that yellow triangle in the center of the chart. Environmental authority, I haven't seen too much of that yet, but that has to do with basically like if you're having a hard time making a decision where you are, just like change your location and see if you can make a decision then. So like if you're like going into a meeting and something about the room doesn't feel right to you, you can ask to see if you can have the meeting held in a different room in the office or outside at a cafe or something like that. So sometimes with environmental authority, you just change your environment or the people that are around you, and then you can make a decision better. And then lunar authority, it's not really an authority, but it's the way that the reflectors are meant to wait that 28-day cycle, which I talked about earlier. So, okay. So, if you have sacral authority, then the expression "go with your gut" is the truest thing for you that you've ever tried or heard as far as how to make decisions. I want to backtrack for a second. In human design, maybe you noticed when I was going through that list, there's 7 authorities, and they kind of correspond to different energy centers. But notice how none of the authorities were brain authority. None of the authorities were perspective authority. So in human design, they emphasize that the brain is not here to help you make decisions. It's really not. You're supposed to make decisions based on your authority, which is like in your body. So like with a sacral authority, you feel the decision. You feel what is right for you in your gut, in your sacrum, basically. Like right down there. You feel it. So like if you get somebody asks you to do something that you don't really want to do, you get that kind of uneasy feeling, right? You go like, But then your brain comes in and says, well, you really should because it's, it's for your family, or it's for, this, that, and the other thing, or you already invested so much money in it, and blah, blah. When your brain comes in, then it confuses your truth. It really confuses what's really right for your energy. So sacral authority is that go with your gut feeling. So if something feels right, what is your immediate reaction? Hey, Noel, you want to go out for lunch tomorrow?
Can we? Is that my? Yeah, I do. With can we? That was my initial.
See, your brain kicked.
I know.
The logic was like, we can't have lunch tomorrow for two. Who says I can't hop on a plane? Plane tickets are only $50 right now. I can get down to Florida in a heartbeat.
No, it was. Are we even allowed to go to? But then this said they're opening things up.
You can order takeout. Whatever. Your brain starts to get involved. I'm not asking about the logistics. I'm just asking, would you want to have lunch tomorrow?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Whatever your immediate response is. Maybe that's not the best one. Maybe let's pretend I'm there in Florida with you. Say, hey, do you want to go rollerblading?
No, but I'll run while you rollerblade though.
Okay. So no, but maybe tomorrow though. Maybe, let's say later tonight, someone gives you a fresh pair of rollerblades and you're super excited about it. Now you want to go rollerblading with me. So then, your response can change. Mm-hmm. So this is the thing. This is what I'm trying to demonstrate here is with sacral authority, whatever your gut immediate response is in the moment, that is what is true for you. So if I ask you if you want to have lunch tomorrow and you say yes right now, that's true for you right now. But if I ask you again tomorrow morning, things might have changed for you. And your gut response might now be no. Maybe there's another lunch meeting that you'd rather go to. Or maybe you're just not feeling well or you don't want to interact with somebody. Whatever your gut response is in the moment. So it can be difficult for some people to release that, yesterday I said yes, but today I'm feeling like it's no, and then they get confused because their brain is trying to, logicize it. But it's what you feel in the moment. And again, you feel it in your gut. You feel it as either an uneasy feeling or a pang, or you feel something that feels really exciting. When you feel like that turned on, excited, you want to move, you want to go do it now, that's your sacral energy saying yes, 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 yes. So that's your authority. Anyone that has sacral authority, any of the generators or manifesting generators out there, always follow your gut before your brain kicks in. Usually your brain is going to try to convince you out of things that are going to take you out of your comfort zone. Going to try to convince you out of things that are unknown or out of your habit. One thing us generator types are really good at is when we start focusing on something, our focus is so intense sometimes that someone may come into our area and try to ask us a question, and we'll get almost mad because they're trying to pull us out of that intense focus that we're really designed for. So it's important to just note that too. If someone else is trying to get your attention, just take a moment, try to bookmark where you're at, give them the attention that they desire to answer the question, because they might be trying to offer you something else to respond to as well. We're just really good at getting in a train. So I experienced this a lot with expectations, basically, how my day is going to go. I have, I'm going to go do this at 9 o'clock, and then I have this to do at 11, and then I have this, and then if a curveball gets thrown my way and I have to completely change my whole layout of the day, it takes me a minute, and I usually have a very emotional response at the beginning. So that leads me into my authority. I have what's called emotional authority. It's where the solar plexus is lit up, is colored in your chart. And again, just to remind everybody, the solar plexus is the large triangle to the right of the sacral center. Right there. It's not colored in on Noelle's chart. This one over here, that's the spleen. This one over here, that's the solar plexus. So with emotional authority, it requires you taking a little bit more time. So this is a place of conditioning I talk about with people that I've experienced in my life. Both of my parents were generators with sacral authority. So for both of them, that go with your gut decision-making process always worked for them. And so that's what they tried to teach me and my siblings. Both of my siblings have sacral authority as well. So I'm the only person in my family that did not have sacral authority. And I cannot tell you how frustrating it was to try to go with my gut in decisions, and it blew up in my face 50% of the time. I could never trust it, and it was a struggle for me most of my life until I found human design and I learned about this emotional authority, and I was like blown away, because not only did go with your gut never work for me, but I usually do have a very emotional response, whether it be, you know, a positive emotion or a negative emotion. I always have a very strong emotional response to most things. I get really excited, or I'll get really upset. You know, different things, and all over on the scale. And I would always get told that I was too sensitive and all these different things. But really, it's not that I'm too sensitive. It's that I am designed to display what I feel all the time. And the way to make decisions is to ride my emotional wave and get to a place of neutrality and clarity before I make a decision. So if you had said to me, hey, do you want to go rollerblading tomorrow? Right now, I'm feeling really great. I'm in this emotional high right now. I'm going to say yes to anything. So if you ask me that, I'd be like, heck yeah, let's go. I'm totally all about it. See you in the morning. But then, you know, maybe, you know, my day would continue on, and I would start to kind of come down off my emotional high, maybe get to like a little bit of a neutral spot. Maybe, you know, I don't know, later this evening, and I'd be reflecting back on my decisions for the day and be like, why did I say I would want to go rollerblading? I cannot rollerblade. I got bad ankles. I'm going to break my neck. Like, this is a terrible idea. But now I feel obligated to follow through because I told you I would say yeah, because I told you yes, right? So, likewise, if I was in a very, very low place, and you came to me with a very beautiful offer, no matter what it was, I would want to say no because I'm feeling very low if I try to answer you in that moment. So it's important for all emotional authority people to ask for more time. So, Hannah, do you want to go rollerblading tomorrow? Noelle, that sounds great. Can I let you know in the morning? That's all you got to say. Now, not everybody's wave is going to be, you know, only 12 hours or 24 hours. Like, some people's emotional waves are very, very, very long. I feel like I have multiple waves that kind of overlap. I have a short-term one that's my, like, every morning when I wake up, I am totally flatline neutral. That's my best time to make decisions. So, like, when you message me at 3 a.m., I get that message at 6 when I wake up, and I'm in that neutral place, and I trust that whatever my decision is in response to your question is going to be perfect. I already know, yes or no, absolutely. And then continue to think about it and check in with it throughout my day, but usually it's correct for me. I'm learning this as I observe my wave. For other people, their neutral place might not be for 2 or 3 days later, or it might not be until they are done for the week and get to the weekend. I also notice I go in like a monthly wave, and part of this is like part of like being a woman and having my menstrual cycle, and my hormones do affect my emotional wave. So I tune into that as well. But I go through like a thing where I'll hit a very, very, very low emotional spot once a month, and then I go through it for a few days, and then I come out of it, and then I'm generally like really neutral and emotionally like neutral or above the rest of the time. And that's usually the case in general for me day to day. I'm usually emotionally in a pretty good neutral or high place. So that's part of my challenge with my energy too, is because I'm usually in an emotionally high place, and my sun gate is the gate of perseverance, which is the gate that wants to say yes to everything. I have to be very cautious about saying yes to every single thing that comes my way, because I have this propensity for it, and it usually gets me into situations where that aren't really aligned, or they're not with the right people, or I wind up burning out my energy. Okay, I think I talked about everything important for the most part with emotional authority. And the other authorities, so like, I'll just briefly go over. Splenic authority is very similar to sacral, where it's an in the moment response. But the splenic authority is more based on like your instinct or your intuition, more so than like your gut feeling. The splenic center is where those things are housed: your intuition, your instinct, and like fear-based issues that you like learn from and work through. A lot of fear gets processed through the splenic center. Then the G center or self-projected authority is where you have to talk to hear what the decision is. So that's what my boyfriend has. Again, using him as an example, he's a self-projected authority projector. So when he needs to make a decision, he just has to talk about it out loud and hear his own voice talking about it. You can't just think about it. You have to literally say the words, talk it out loud, talk out the pros and cons, and then when he hears himself saying it, then he comes to a decision very quickly. Where this is confusing for others, like maybe you or I or anybody else that's around, is we hear them talking it out, and we're thinking that they're asking for our opinion, or that they're asking like what we should do, or for our input. They're really not. And then we get frustrated because they might make a decision that's opposite of what we suggested they do, where that's not what they were really looking for. So that's the self-projected. I talked about environment and lunar a little bit too. So yeah, that's all the authority. So I want to go revisit when we talked about the not self theme. When you're feeling, for example, frustration, it's a signpost that you are not using your strategy and authority. So again, for generators, you're feeling frustration because you're trying to make things happen. That is not your strategy. Your strategy is to literally just open your arms and just receive. Just let the universe bring to you whatever it has to offer you. Every single little thing. And just respond to it. That's all you need to do. And then, in that response, you use your sacral authority. Or for me, I use my emotional authority. So it feels like, it kind of sometimes feels like you're like sitting around waiting, doing nothing, but that's not really the case. You're always doing something. We have that sacral motor churning away, generating energy. We feel like we need to move on things all the time, do. But we can do just in response. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. So yeah. So again, when in doubt or when you're feeling you're not self-esteem, just take a moment and look at what you're involved in and say, am I using my authority? Am I using my strategy in this situation right now, or am I not? Where do I need to shift my focus so that I get back in alignment with my energy? And that's basically what those not self themes are meant to be there for. So when I go through and I'm doing like a lot of emotional work and I'm going through choosing like what emotions do and don't serve me, And I name all these different negative emotions I feel throughout my day. Frustration is one of those ones, like, I hate feeling frustrated, but it's a really useful emotion. It's really, really useful for me because it tells me when I'm in alignment, when I'm not. Whereas, like, other emotions, like overwhelm, I really don't like overwhelm, and I feel like it's not a useful emotion. So I'm like, that's my current thing is I'm choosing not to get overwhelmed. I'm choosing not to feel it. I just not on my plate anymore. I don't want it. So that's just a little personal side note there. Okay, so let's look at your chart here.
Nice.
So Noel's chart, he has let's see, 6 open centers and 3 defined. So again, I'll just show everybody here. All of those centers up there and all in there, all open, but then look at all the color that he's got in here. He's got this beautiful connection from the spleen to the root, and then also from the spleen to the sacral center. All that definition. So when you have a defined or colored in center on your chart, it means that the energies in that center are expressed in a consistent way all the time for you as per your design. So the different gates, the different numbers in each center are different expressions of that energy, and that's the way you express that energy. The open or uncolored in or undefined parts of your chart, those are areas where then you take in experiences and knowledge and energy through those centers from other people. And again, it's not meant to be something that's good or bad. There are definitely light and dark sides to it, and it's all about whether or not you feel like you're a victim or not. If you place yourself in a victim mentality with receiving energy, then you're going to wind up living in the shadow side and the not self-theme and all these things, and it's just not going to feel good. Whereas if you take this knowledge and use it to empower you, then you can use those open centers to gain wisdom and discernment about what is and is not in alignment for you. So, for example, I love using the solar plexus because I've been working with it a lot, and I have it defined. I can't recall what percent of the population has it defined, but it might be like 50-50. A lot of the centers are like a 50-50 split thereabouts between how much of the population has it open and how much of the population has it defined. But with the solar plexus, you have it open, you may have a lot of like emotional sensitivity depending on who's around you. So on your own, sitting at home by yourself, you're going to be most likely pretty emotionally neutral. And that's actually a really good time to tap into the different feelings you feel in reaction to different stimuli when no one else is around, so you can get to know what emotions are yours, what feelings come up around certain situations and certain people that are yours. You own them. Because when you then go out and you're around other people, especially people like me who have a defined solar plexus, you're going to start to pick up energies, emotional energies, and process them through that center. And then anytime you take in energy through an open center, you then process it and then express it 10 times as great. So this is where I feel a lot of responsibility on my part as a defined emotional solar plexus person. So with this knowledge, I know that if I'm feeling, pretty good, if I come into your presence and you pick up on my feeling pretty good, you're going to process it and express it 10 times greater. You're now going to feel pretty good 10 times greater than I feel. Or you're also going to look at me and see me as someone who is 10 times more pretty good than I actually feel. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So with that knowledge, I use that to empower myself when I go out in public. So again, like pre-COVID, when we were like, still able to like go to a bar, go to a show or a concert or the mall or wherever, I would do these little experiments where, like, especially at the mall, because there's so many strangers around and it's very like, you don't know who you're going to run into. I set an intention in my car, and we may have talked about this last time we spoke, but I set an intention in my car before I even go into the mall or before I go into the bar or restaurant or wherever. Set the intention that I'm going to, at the very least, be at peace and feel neutral. If not, above that, if not feeling joyous, excited, any number of these positive emotions, I set that intention. If I'm not feeling my best, I will try not to go out in public, or I will do my best to turn that emotion around, because I know that any negative emotion I feel, people around me are going to take it in and feel it 10 times as great, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So it's not that, like, if I'm having a really bad day, I can't, like, go to the grocery store to get what I need, but just to, like, bring awareness to it. That, like, if I encounter people that maybe seem kind of like, I don't know, pissed off or, witchy with a capital B, and I'm already feeling a little bit of that, it could be that they're just reflecting back to me what I'm putting out. We all serve as mirrors for one another through these open and defined centers. So whatever you're putting out through your sacral is going to get reflected back to you through drive and motivation and the drive to do by someone who has an open sacral. So yeah, so just going back to the emotional thing, if you have a defined emotional solar plexus, you can kind of experiment with this and just bring awareness to it. Like you might be the kind of person that has been told that you can walk into a room and totally change the mood. I've been told that many times. And that's because of that emotional projection that comes out of my solar plexus, and literally just anyone who's open that's around is going to take in whatever I'm feeling. So I just try to make it a point to just like feel really great anytime I go anywhere and be excited and just like beam it. I can feel it beaming out of me, out and around through my aura. So like so where you and I have some things in common is the crown and the third eye are both open. So with an open third eye, it's like you are able to really easily see all sides to things. You can easily see how someone could feel that way. You can easily see how, like, you could maybe playing devil's advocate comes really easily to you because, even if you don't believe the other side, even if you don't actually align with that, it's easy for you to see how someone could see it that way. So that's like kind of like the lightest side to that. And then with the crown, when you have an open crown, you have an endless source of inspiration. You can get ideas from everyone around you. They just pour into your head. The shadow side to that is that some people might feel like things are getting put into their head and they don't know where they're coming from, and they feel like, again, like that victim feeling. If you feel like, like you don't want to be around people because so much stuff gets put into your head and you don't know where it's coming from and you get kind of scattered, you got to pull yourself out of that feeling and be able to, again, discern and understand what is and is not yours. I love having an open crown Because when you have a defined crown, you can generate inspiration and generate ideas on your own. But again, it's in a consistent way, so it can feel limited in some ways. Whereas, if I'm around someone with a defined crown, like my boyfriend, again, bring my boyfriend into it, he sometimes literally, like, I feel like he puts things into my head sometimes, and I've begun practicing waiting, saying anything. Like, I'll get a thought that I'm like, where did that come from? And I'll just wait about 5 minutes, and then he will literally say the exact words that were in my head. Because I feel like, I still play with it and trying to understand it, but it feels like literally like he had the thought. It just took a little bit longer before he could vocalize it, before I got it in my thought. Another really great example of this, I don't know, maybe this has ever happened to you, this is something to think about, is like where he does this to me all the time is in a restaurant. We'll be in a restaurant. I'll already know before we even get to the restaurant, I know what I want to eat. I want the giant salad that's got all the awesome fixins on it, and it's super yummy, and it comes with this great dressing, and that's what I want for dinner. I want this big old salad, right? We go in the restaurant, we sit down, I look at the menu, there it is, that's the salad I want. Put the menu down. My boyfriend, he's ordering like a burger with fries and all that stuff. He already knows what he wants. But then he's got the menu, and he goes, oh, doesn't that look good? And I'll look at it, and it's like, this one example I'm thinking of, it was like a pulled pork burger with like a fried egg on top, like the opposite of a salad, basically. He's showing me this thing on the menu. It's not even what he's getting, but he literally like put it into my head, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? That sounds really good. You're right. Yeah, I'm going to get that. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, no, that actually sounds really good. So then it gets there, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, this is not what I want at all. This is not what I want to eat right now. And I ate it, and I actually wound up like getting kind of sick later. So it's like, that right there is an example of a situation where I with my open crown, I took on this thought and internalized it as my own, thinking that I wanted that thing on the menu. When really, I already knew what I actually wanted, and I just needed to hold on to that. So that's like something, that's like a new realization I personally had about the open crown, that now every time we go to a restaurant, I set ahead of time what it is I'm craving, what it is I want, and I stick with it, and I don't let him change my mind. And like I said, he wasn't even trying to. That's the funniest part. He wasn't trying to convince me to eat that. He just pointed it out. Doesn't that look good? And I literally downloaded that and then expressed it 10 times as great. I convinced myself 10 times greater than he could that I wanted that thing. So it's just a really, I don't know, in my opinion, a great classic example of open crown. So, yeah, I don't want to go too in depth with all the other percenters because I do want to get into some of the stuff in your chart. Now, last time we talked, we did go over a few things.
And
but I want to talk about, so at the very, very bottom, no matter where you look up your chart, there's this thing called the incarnation cross.
Before you start, so there's this. I'm gonna have someone else chime in because they think they're talking to me at 5. We have 20 minutes still, but I'm just making sure because I don't want to leave anything out that we want to make sure that we share in this, because you shared so many good things already. So I have someone calling me at the top of the hour, so I just want to make sure that we don't leave anything out for them.
Okay.
Did I make you lose your train of thought?
I will stick to my notes then. Okay. So the bottom of your chart, there's this thing, it says incarnation cross, and yours it says right angle cross of tension, and then it has the numbers 48, 21, 39, and 38. So if you look at the top of your chart, I don't know if you can see the numbers. Basically, the top two numbers on the red side and the black side, those are those numbers that are listed in the incarnation cross. So 48 is the one on the black side, and that's got the little sun symbol there. So that is your main, what I call the sun gate. It's like almost equivalent to like your sun sign in astrology. So your sun gate is 48, your earth gate is 21, and then on the red side, your sun gate is 39 and your earth gate is 38. The difference between the black side and the red side is the black side are the gates that all the planets were in on the day that you were born, at the exact date, time, and location. And then the red side is all the gates the planets were in 88 days before you were born. And that's kind of like where in the human design system, where they believe that your consciousness is like solidified into your physical body. Now before that, like your soul, your conscious self may kind of like dip into the body in the womb and then go back out into like the ethereal realms, then dip back in. But then around 6 months in gestation, that's where it's believed that the consciousness fully forms and stays with the body. So that's your kind of your subconscious side, and then the black is your more conscious side. Okay, so your incarnation cross, just like a little summary of it, the right angle cross of tension, these are people who have this innate depth, who bring this great understanding to the problems that other people have, the problems of the world. And you provoke, you draw out of other people the proper skills and spirit and purpose that is needed in order to provide a workable solution. So this is essentially like who you are. This is innately like how you do things. The provocation part, that comes from the gate number 39, which is the gate of provocation. But your gate 48 on your conscious side, that is called the well, or the gate of death. And we spoke about this before months ago when we talked. It's a gate that has a lot of understanding about what looks good, what tastes good, what doesn't taste good, things like that. It has a lot to do with taste. But it also has to do with, for you, it has to do with restructuring. So that's where I was talking about, like the light side of this is the awareness that death and its possible expression will be faced with certain restrictions in life. So then it's better to focus on short-term goals. And the dark side of that is having a taste for long-term projects, but that causes a lot of frustration. So that's just like something to keep in mind when you're going about your day, you're planning things out. It's good to have a vision, but don't or allow room to release that vision, or allow room for modification in order to uphold your highest vibration, so you don't get sunk into that frustration too often. So like have awareness about, you can take a long-term goal, you can have this long-term vision, but set it up into small vision, week to week, month to month. Have shorter term goals that you achieve that will all build to this longer term goal. Okay? And then gate 39 is the gate of provocation, and you are number 6. So this one this is like kind of like underneath that running theme of the depth. It's also known as the troubleshooter for you, and it's a natural gift for solving problems. So you have the ability to guide and nurture others, but you like draw things out of them. You help them to find solutions by kind of showing them what's kind of what's wrong, but in a way that's like meant to uplift them. So yeah, it's the energy to provoke others by attempting to solve their problems. And in you trying to solve others' problems, they then see that there was a problem to begin with. And then they can go about and fix it. You're not actually supposed to actually fix it. You're just supposed to try to, and it illuminates for them where something wasn't working right. So that's the dark side of it, is trying to, let's see, it says ego dominance that generally abuses the gift for self-grandeur and personal ambition rather than trying to help others. So, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that's those two sun gates. They work in tandem with each other. And then the two earth gates do too, but that sun gate of depth and provocation, those two are like the strongest energies in your personality, in your chart. Something else I want to look at, and this is something I've been really, really getting into, is the nodes, the north and south nodes. So the north and south node has to do with the path, the elliptical path of the moon, and it's not a physical like body, but it's more like a point. So when the moon is at the northernmost point in its ellipse, where it crosses the sun and the earth's path, that's called the north node. And then the southernmost point in its ellipse is the south node. And it shifts as we move through the galaxy around the sun, that where the nodes are astrologically moves, kind of moves with us in a counter direction. So recently we just shifted, the north node just shifted from Cancer into Gemini. And the south node shifted from, what would that be? We just shifted into Sagittarius, so it maybe was in Capricorn. So it goes like backwards on the astrological calendar because it's oriented, opposite from us. So anyways, in your astrological chart, I looked it up, your north node is in Cancer, which like I said, we just left, and your south node is in Capricorn. What the south node represents is kind of where you came from. All your experiences and knowledge and skills that you've gained over all your past experiences as a soul, you come into this life with all that knowledge. So with Capricorn, it's a very masculine energy, wanting to take action and build structures and systems and all these things, right? Very earthy, masculine energy. That's what comes easily to you. The north node is what you're meant to then move into in this life. It's kind of your dharma, if you will. It's your work, what you're working towards. And we start to shift into this naturally as we approach midlife. So your north node is in Cancer. Cancer is a fixed water sign, and it is very feminine. It's water, right? So it's this feminine thing. It's very connected to family, caregiving, others, and bringing about a lot of emotional and spiritual healing. So this is knowledge helps to direct you in your path a little bit more and in your kind of feeling of purpose. So, the Capricorn stuff, you're moving from this very masculine, driven, structured energy into a more divine, feminine, receiving and caregiving and loving, family-oriented energy. Now, in human design, you have north and south node in your chart. So we'll just look at the black numbers. The black numbers, your north node is the 52, and your south node is 58. So when I looked it up, gate 58 is found in your root chakra down here, that black line coming off of the root chakra. And then 52 is also in your root chakra coming off the top of it, towards your sacral. So they're both root chakra energy. So your south node, that's the gate of joy, basically, the gate of vitality. So you combine that with that Capricorn energy of structure, you're basically trying to like create things so that life can be experienced in a wonderful way. Like it just comes really easily to you. You've been doing this your whole life. All sorts of things, whether you're physically building something or you're building something, electronically or just relationships. Relationships are also very important to you too with your profile life. We don't have time to get into that today. But yeah, so that's what you came in with. That's what comes really easily, and it's easy to fall into that and stay there. But really, so your soul can move into its highest vibration and evolution, you want to be moving towards the gate 52. Gate 52 is the gate of stillness, which is a very feminine energy, if you think about it. Stillness. It corresponds to gate number 9 in the sacral chakra, which is the gate of focus, which I have. I don't have 52. You do. So if we got together, we'd be able to complete that channel for each other. So gate 52 is about both temporary and self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment and evaluation of whatever is coming up for you. So, you came back to human design because you were experiencing frustration in certain things. So here's where your meditation practice. I know you talk about often about how you meditate for 15 minutes every morning. I would say to embrace this energy more throughout your day. Every time you're presented with anything, take 5 minutes and sit in meditation, sit in stillness. If you can schedule that in between your meetings, in between your podcasts, in between your videos, you will gain more clarity and you'll be able to move more towards the higher vibration of that gate 48, that gate of depth and the gate of provocation, towards being able to help solve these problems, being able to come up with these solutions that you come up with so easily in the Capricorn side, all the structures and all the systems, but allowing that more divine feminine side of stillness and receiving. Allow time more for that, and that's going to help guide you more towards the rest of the work you're meant to do in this life.
I like that. Yes, still that before I even discovered that the stillness part, the meditation, life was way more challenging. So even that discovery of doing meditation in the morning has been the last maybe 3 years. But before that, life was way more challenging. So I can relate with what you just said as far as even embracing it more, like during the day. I think that's definitely a good realization.
The neat thing about human design is when I start telling people about themselves, they're like, oh yeah, I already do that, or oh yeah, I already do. Well, it's because you're just tuned into your energy, and the more you live life, the more you learn what does and doesn't work for you. You just gain this like internal knowingness and intuition. But for some people, it takes 50 years to get there. For some people, it takes their whole life before they finally understand. And human design, we can shortcut it, basically. So we can take away years of frustration and anger and disappointment and bitterness by bringing this awareness earlier in life. Like, I wish I had learned about this when I was 20, So I'm hoping that maybe someone here sees this and it sparks something for them, and that they choose to go, take it upon themselves to dive into their chart, learn about more energy, get a reading. If anybody's watching this, if you want to ask me, I got all kinds of resources. I'll answer anything for you in regards to human design, or I can point you in the direction of some people who can answer better than me. You can go to jovianarchive.com to get your free chart, real easy and simple. It's JOVIANARCHIVE.com. Scroll down where it says get your free chart. You do need to have as accurate of a birth time as you can possibly get. You can look at your birth chart, ask your mom, whatever. And birth time is really important. And there's lots of great resources on that website to get you started. There's lots of amazing books. Of course, I mentioned earlier, Ra Uru Hu is the author and original channeler of the whole system. You can look him up. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's
I love it. No,
all, I guess. There's more, but
you guys definitely connect with Anna, and thank you so much for, you shared so much, like so many things to just be educated by, but then be aware of for us individually. So when you guys are out there, I would definitely, maybe I said this at the beginning, like pause when you guys are watching the replay, pause this, go get your chart so that you can see how it relates to you. But I'll make sure that they have that link and make sure that they can connect with you very easily, because you just gave a lot, and it's awesome to see how you're evolving with this, and if you found a part of life that you really enjoy, and it'll keep evolving, and you'll be able to help more people at the same time, which is awesome.
Yeah, my manifesting energy, my manifesting generator energy is like, we are the ultimate multitaskers. I can be making coffee, cooking breakfast, packing lunch, feeding the dogs. I can do all these things all at the same time. And it's coming to this awareness is like, oh, I understand now why other people can't. Some people are not meant to do 15 things at once. That's just one of my gifts. A generator is really designed to do one thing and focus on it and master it and see it all the way through to the end and then move on to the next thing. Whereas manifesting generator, I'm already thinking 5 steps ahead. like when I made my post on Instagram, I put the wrong date. I put the 28th instead of the 27th. I thought today was the 28th. It's just like I skipped this step, and that's a typical shadow side of a manifesting generator. But my business, Karmic Essentials, it incorporates all of my gifts, all of my thirst for knowledge and understanding and awareness with human design, soul tarot, my artwork, which reminds me, I want to share one thing. I'm starting to do these charts where if you're in a relationship with someone, I've created this artwork that combines two people's charts together, and it shows where their energy complements and where their energy is shared, so that you can bring awareness to your relationship with one another. So that's something that's a way I'm starting to integrate human design with my artwork and like trying to blend it all together.
That's cool. That'd be meaningful that'd be a good gift for a couple getting into this, to have for them as a reminder as well. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so that's my prototype for that. And yeah, it's like a piece of artwork. You can hang it on your wall, and I'm gonna make notes on it about the different channels, and great, it's a great reference point. So yeah, so manifesting generators, if you're out there and you have a million passions, you've been conditioned to try to pick one thing and stick with it, I give you permission to release that and give yourself permission to literally pursue anything that lights you up. And that goes for everyone. Follow what lights you up, what excites you, and what drives your passion. Use your strategy and authority to make decisions around it, and you can't go wrong.
I love it. That's such great advice for all of us. Yes, no matter where we fall on the human design chart or any chart, follow your passion, your excitement, and I love it. Thank you so much, Anna. This has been fun, and you've shared lots of cool things with me and with everybody. And people will watch this replay quite a bit, I'm sure, and you will get some people reaching out to you for sure. So thank you for your time and energy today. You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me and initiating the energy. It was perfect, perfectly timed.
I was just ready to say, all in perfect timing. Well, thank you guys out there that are tuning in to us live, and we'll talk with everybody soon. If you're watching this on the replay, super excited for you guys. Connect with Anna, tell her how much you enjoyed this and appreciate her, and we'll talk to you guys really, really soon. Awesome.
Bye.
All right, let me end the stream.